Park.
It fell into the sorry, it's not funny. I just am coping with it through laughter. Uh, the bulkhead panels are 20 feet tall and it got deeper than 20 feet. And so it
Slid
slid
down.
down and fell out. And we've had that happen in Charlie's pasture and did emergency repairs. And so there's a theory that with the deepening of the ship channel, but we're recording now, so
Okay.
I can get into that in that section of the report.
Okay, it's 4:38 approximately on Wednesday, June the 18th, and we'll call the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting to begin. First on the agenda list is citizens' comments and reports, and seeing none, we'll immediately go to the director's report.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here. I know scheduling was a headache, so I appreciate all of your time. Running through, I'm not going to read line by line, but the first section there is our capital outlay projects. So that's what we budgeted to spend this fiscal year. That ends at the end of September. So we've made a lot of progress. Most of the things on our list are complete. The rec center is going to be discussed on the June 19th council meeting and hopefully awarded to a contractor. There was 4 qualified bids. We graded proposals with a team from city staff, and Fulton Construction came in at the highest score, but they were not the lowest amount. And so we went back to the architects and met with Fulton to value engineer the project. So basically look at where we can cost save. So that's going to be the findings from that meeting will be presented to city council, and they'll get to make the decision. Okay, do we want to go with this value engineered version and Fulton, or do we want to go with a less expensive contractor? So they'll have that decision in their hands, and hopefully they'll pick somebody, we can get a contract going and get construction started. We were awarded a recreational trails grant from Texas Parks and Wildlife. We were also notified that we'll be receiving a boating access grant. So those 2 applications were due at the same time. So we kind of were notified that we got them at the same time. Nature Preserve Ray is helping me with those projects, but we had been holding on to some funding to repair the sidewalk around the ball fields after Harvey had been damaged. So I was able to leverage those funds for the grant. So we're going to get that all repaired, and we're going to widen that narrow section of Nature Preserve Trail. And then we're going to create another trail that goes off to Port Street. So that's what that project will encompass. The grounds crew maintenance facility, their original office has been demolished in front of the police station, and they are now in temporary buildings along with the gas department on the corner of Avenue C and Cutoff Road. Because the rec center is so far over budget, this next fiscal year, we're not going to have a lot of funds to do extra. The rec center is going to eat up the 18 million that we budgeted 14 million, and then we're hoping to get to 18 million was the cost estimate. And they're even further over that. So hot tax can help fill in that gap, but that doesn't leave much of it for anything else. So that maintenance facility is most likely going to get kicked down the road a little bit because they're in newer leased buildings. It's not ideal, but it's a good spot for them for the time being. Roberts Point Playground was completed. The last remaining part of that site is I have some funding from the Port of Corpus Christi. We have $20,000 for shade out at the playground, which you think that sounds like a nice amount of money, but when it comes to these big commercial shade structures, it is not. So I've been working with some local contractors to brainstorm about like shading the benches around the playground. We talked to another commercial shade fabricator in Corpus about maybe something more similar to like what we had at the pool, the like A-frame canopy fabric and steel structures, which are not my favorite, but we're still working through how we can get more shade out there with the funds that we have.
Would that shade the climbing dome, the black one?
No, probably not.
That's so hot.
Well,
You
so
wouldn't actually like.
You
complain
could
to the
cook an
city.
egg.
we had somebody bring attention to the bowl spinners, the stainless steel spinners for being a concern that they're getting too hot. I have looked into, there's a thermoplastic paint that can be used to kind of create an insulation between the metal and hands or skin. And so I'm talking with the Craftsman Play about what our options are there. It's called the planetarium.
Right.
It's shade itself underneath, and then in Texas, equipment gets hot. And
Yeah.
so on all of our signage, we say caution, equipment gets hot. It's just kind of the nature of being out in the full Texas sun in the summer. Yeah, I'm working on what I can, but I mean, I can't enclose the
Was-
whole
yeah.
thing, so there is a little bit of, user discretion advised, I
Caution.
guess is, yeah,
They won't use it. I mean, they only have touch points and they're not gonna
yeah,
climb on.
yeah, there's some of the rubber, the black
rub-
rubber gets pretty hot.
There was one day, and we're not, I mean, now, I would never go to the park in the middle of the day in the summer anyway. It's too
Yeah.
hot. But there was one day that it was like exceptionally hot. I don't know why, maybe, I don't know, for some reason that I wouldn't normally be there for, like. It's
Yeah,
not by choice, not by choice, and it was too hot for. Like to be on the rubber,
yeah,
like AJ, like he's not what, he's usually just sits by the little one and kind of pretends to climb
Mhm.
on the little. Toddler section,
yeah,
and the rubber itself was too hot to even. be
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
So I put him on the grass.
The ship area is a smaller area. If we were going to like sacrifice benches and try and shade the little ship, I'm open to suggestions. It's just I'm very limited in what I have to,
I just
Get
normally
out
like,
there.
I don't go out in the middle of the day in the summer period, but I don't know.
I think it'd be nice to
People-
have, cause if you're over by the little kid area, you can sit underneath that pavilion and
Yeah.
still have an eye on your kids. So having it further away, a little shade structure with even more benches over there, there's not really anywhere to sit.
well, so there's limestone blocks.
Boss,
Right.
but-
And then there's a bench wall in between the two slides,
Mhm.
and then there's two more sets of bench blocks by the zip line.
Yeah,
And so what I'm working on with the local contractor is a wooden like cantilever shade structure that would go over all three sets of benches. So there would be like,
There's benches over there?
well, the limestone blocks
limestone,
are, I'm
cutouts.
calling them benches.
Okay,
That's what they're intended for.
got it.
So there would be there would be 6 benches shaded
That would-
around the perimeter.
Yeah, I like that.
And think like bus stop where there's like 2 posts and then an angled roof with wood slats, kind of pergola bus stop type look to them. That's what I think financially feasibly will get us the most for our money.
it's a start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those giant sails, they look really good when they're first out and they cover a huge amount of area, but the atmosphere out there, the environment, they're
They
not
would
going to
last.
last.
For like-
Yeah.
It'd be
Yeah.
like, almost like a paranoia.
It's very tempting because I've been looking at them like, gosh, that would just solve all our problems, but it would solve them for like a year and then I'd have to do it again the next year.
Yeah.
At the Texas State Aquarium, they have those. They're getting in rough shape
Are they already over their splash pad area or?
over the
The main
dolphin
entrance?
pool.
Oh, those have probably been there for a while though, but they're probably very
Shop
expensive.
too.
Cause that area is not new.
There's an actual.
Let's
not-
get in, let me
yeah.
keep going through my
Keep going.
report, cause really this isn't a
Yeah.
discussion item and let's revisit
Okay.
when we get to the budget section so that we can make suggestions on what to work on. Shade at the pool is, well, I put it on hold and then I took it off hold, so I thought it was gonna be included in the rec center, so I put it on hold. Well, the rec center came out so expensive, then it got cut. So we do have a little bit of money left in the budget. It's less than I had originally planned on, because the UV filters were so expensive, and that's a health code requirement, like we have to do that one first. So with the remaining funds, I've gotten with the, fabricator who is spec'd for the rec center. There are 3 shade cabanas as a part of the rec center. So that same manufacturer I've gotten with, and I'm waiting on numbers for 3 smaller cabanas. The idea now is that they'll go where the fabric shades are falling apart on the pool. On the other side of the lap lanes between the splash pad and the pool, there would be 3 square cabanas there, aluminum pergola style, and they'll match the 3 that are gonna be outside the rec center doors, so it'll be consistent. And then we'll let the one on the right, when you walk in, limp along a little bit more, because it's in fairly decent condition, even though it's probably the oldest thing out there.
But it needs to be completed before the 30th because of budget stuff.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
don't, this, I've never really felt like if you don't use it, you lose it, except this year, because we have this
Yeah.
rec center project, so if I don't get this stuff spent and done, it's gonna have to wait a couple of years, and I'm trying to get as much complete as possible. We're instead, I'm tongue-tied. The patriotic banners under holiday decor, that's a new thing we're doing. So we used to just put flags all the way down Allister, and then we started doing the student banners, and the student banners block the flag mounts. And so, because you can't put like a banner and a flag on the same pole for Memorial Day, Labor Day, 4th of July. So we were like, well, what if we get American flag banners, and then when the student banners come down, we'll put up the flag banners. They could be up there all summer. So that is, we're hoping that they come in before the 4th. We'll see, but they've been ordered. Old Town Square, the pavilions, everything there is done. The community center is under renovation now, and they are including 2 externally accessible restrooms. So when events go on at Old Town Square, you won't have to go through the community center. There will be restrooms available through the porch. So there will be a ramp on that side of the building, and then 2 separate restrooms with a breezeway between the restrooms and the building. It's pretty cool. I'm excited that they were able to add that onto that project. That helped speed that along. That project is slated to be done in October. I talked about the boating access grant. The only other thing, I'm working out the details on, there's another Texas Parks and Wildlife grant called the Local Parks Grant, and it can be up to $1.5 million. And so I was thinking that that could help bridge the gap with the aquatics facilities that I haven't been able to include with the rec center. So fencing, new decking, the rest of the shade, and all of the existing pool infrastructure. So the locker rooms, pavilion, offices, equipment pump room. I was thinking I might be able to leverage the Restore grant for the fishing piers that has been taking a very long time to get approved. I might be able to use those as matching funds for that local parks grant, and then try and fund the aquatic stuff a little bit faster than having to wait a few years for hot tax to replenish. So I'm still working that one out, but the application's due August 1st. So that's the finances. All right, so down to facilities, Roberts Point Park. We increased staffing because on weekends, the area is so popular. We have birthday parties going on in the pavilion. There's fishing tournaments, there's pole vaulting tournaments, there's all kinds of stuff going on. So we have a grounds crew member that comes in either Saturday evening or Sunday morning and does a trash run to make sure the park's looking good through the weekend. We're keeping everything watered, even though drought restrictions are still in place. We put a well in by McDonald Field, and we truck water all over town, and we have taps on our newer irrigation systems. So the truck plugs into the irrigation system and runs the irrigation system off of the truck. It's pretty labor intensive and not super efficient, but it's better than nothing. So
Yeah.
keeping stuff alive. I didn't put in the bulkhead under that section, but we can talk about it here. So there is a small section of bulkhead that's fallen into the ship channel.
Do you think it's because of the deepening?
Well, I can't say that
But
for
the-
sure. I don't have hydrology data and history, but where the panels get undermined, so the ground level at that point in the bulkhead has been washed out enough that the panels are no longer being supported and slide down and fall in. So that's kind of what happened first is the sidewalk and the edge sunk. And then we had that big rain event and then it fell. So city manager is working on emergency repairs and council will have to approve that work, but we're not just gonna let it keep going. We're gonna, it just takes a while to get the rock lined up
But
and
like,
all the details.
Wouldn't it fall under
Happen again and again.
to other parts of?
So it already has. In Charlie's pasture, it's happened in a couple of places and the repairs have been made. So
Is that city or is that,
yeah, it's our bulkhead. It's our, it's our hardened shoreline.
but and there's no way to prove this because of the dredging.
Not that I'm aware of. It's probably a bigger conversation for higher ups.
You get where you go, you get where I'm
Yes.
going to.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Why were you? But the
It's gonna
bill.
keep moving. Yeah, bigger questions
Okay.
for higher up, yeah.
Some just engineering.
Community park, what's going on over there? We're gonna build a rec center, that's a big one.
And
And then,
awarded the construction this
yes,
tomorrow.
ideally, unless they don't like what they see, and I mean, they could always say, you know, this is way over budget, we're not doing it, but I don't think, that's not the vibe I'm getting. We'll see.
So after they accept it, it begins.
They have about like 30 days to get a contract in place and then break
Yes.
ground. And different bidders said different lead times. So like in their bid, I think Fulton Construction said 0 days lead time. They were like ready to jump right in, and others needed 30 days or 90 days. I'll let them know you said that. So one of the other little sticklers in my to-do list this year is I wanted to add beginner amenities to the slab next to the skate park, between the pickleball court and the skate park. It was a community request. Henry Collins came in and then a couple of other people mentioned that they'd really like smaller stuff. The only fabricator that's been able to get me an estimate is all steel construction for these ramps and things. And I'm just thinking it's going to be a maintenance nightmare. So maintenance, I don't know why I'm messing that word up. So I haven't pulled the trigger. I was hoping to get with a local contractor about doing it in concrete, and I haven't been able to get a bite on that. So I'm trying, but I don't have a great contractor at this point. So if you know anybody who would be interested in doing concrete work or custom skate work out of wood, or I don't know, something more sustainable for this environment, that's where I'm at. That's probably the project I've made the least progress on, just because I keep hitting walls.
Steel seems like it would be the least amount of maintenance.
It's gonna rust. And then I have to
Okay.
paint it every year. That's
Okay.
part of the their warranty is like it would have to, all the frame would need to be painted every year. So it's better than nothing, but I was hoping for like maybe a miniature version of our skate park with like smaller corner banks and a table and just like really like knee-high stuff. And so I was thinking if there was a local concrete contractor, maybe they'd be willing to get creative with me.
Who did it before?
The big skate park was a huge skate park builder, Buddy Holiday.
They
It's
won't
like
do
a
it?
famous, not for the 35,000 that I have. So that was another thing. I talked with SPA, what is the acronym SPA? Skate Park Austin. They had some local connections and they kind of didn't pan out. So spread the word. I don't know, send people my way. I don't know what to do. I'm trying. New swings are in the community park. Over at the pool, we are still hiring lifeguards. We're semi decently staffed, but we could be better staffed, so we're still hiring. We have UV filters being awarded at the council meeting June 19th, that anything over 50,000 has to go to the council, so those were expensive. We have all of the things that were pointed out in the Councilman Hunsinger audit that we had done as part of the rec center planning. They came through and they said like everything, like this tile is broken and the no diving sign. I mean, they found everything that you could possibly find. So we were checking all the boxes to anything that was like a safety concern or a state regulation. So we're pretty much through that to-do list. We have a contractor lined up for redoing the beach entry and the coping repairs that need to be done. We're just finalizing. We need like one more estimate. They didn't estimate it perfectly. They need to add something to theirs. And then once they do that, we'll have 3 and we can move forward on that. I think we're going to schedule it to be done because you have to drain the pool a little bit. We're going to schedule it to be done after swim team's done. So, and there's like a week before.
August.
Yeah. So we'll have to close down while we do that for a little bit. Probably a week.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
The
Future.
umbrella got redone. Adam, our pool manager, took it upon himself to refurbish the features. He did the bucket dump by himself and it turned out really well. So now our mushroom, it's supposed to be, it's done, but it needs to be reinstalled. And so we should see that really soon. Fishing piers, I kind of talked about. We upped, so the Restore Council is reviewing our amendment that we issued, but basically this grant has been going on for like 4 years. They have not been able to get a contract with us. And so in that amount of time, the work has changed. And so we revised our budget and it's supposed to be reviewed by their council very soon. And that's the money that I could potentially use as match for the local parks grant. I'm working on that. Nature Preserve, the boating access grant was awarded for the 33 acres. And so that will cover the actual boat launch area and parking and a driveway and a restroom and a shade structure. So I don't know if you ever saw, we have like a whole build out of all 33 acres conceptually done with like a playground and nature trails and little shade pavilions out there. It will only cover the boating infrastructure. It won't cover any of the other stuff. So this is for the design phase of everything. And then once they award your design grant, you're very likely to get the construction grant as well. So in the next phase, they'll fund the construction agenda and budget stuff. Okay, let me keep rolling. I talked about the walking trails grant already. The Coastal Bend Bays and Estuaries program is going to pay to master plan or design the land that we bought behind the grocery store, the family center. They gave $50,000 for engineering and design. And so I'm excited to see what that will be. I don't know what they're going to come up with, but we did get funding for planning that. The birding center, if you haven't been over there, there's a new parking lot. That should be done by the end of this fiscal year. With all the restore projects. So they're putting in bollards around Paradise Point and they're doing some work on the Clays Hill Trail and it's more than just a parking lot. That's all part of the restore grants. We had an amazing park host. I don't know if you were out on the trails when Karen was here over the winter. She was like an educator and just super passionate. She got an RV spot at Port A RV, and then she acted kind of like a docent and ranger through the winter. Loved taking photos. Her photos, I think, are now up on our city website if you want to see some of the whooping crane photos and things she took. But she plans to come back again next winter. So that was a cool we've been doing it probably 3 years now, the park host position, and I've really enjoyed everyone that has come down to fill that role. It's been kind of a neat way to get more presence from our staff out over weekends and evening hours when our staff isn't out there. And it's just for the price of an RV spot. So it's a pretty good deal for us. I'm enjoying it. I think I talked about everything else. Oh, the birding classic. Texas Parks and Wildlife has a birding classic. There's a big sit that happens where a bunch of people come out and bird for a whole day, and we got first place. We saw the most species. And then the youth birding club participated as well. And I think they did 2 different events and they did well. So we have an active youth birding scene going on right now. That's great.
How many
And
years in
Julie,
a row was that first place? Cause had it last year too, right? The year
I
before.
don't know how many years.
Must be at least
I
3.
have quite a few. We always place. I have the certificates on my wall. I don't know. I'll get back to you. Surf Rescue. Boy, is that program booming. We have 30 part-time guards. That is the most we've ever had. We're fully staffed. That's as many slots as we have. That's what we budgeted for. So we've checked that box, and we have evolved from we will take whoever we can get to who meets the credentials to, you know, are you going to be a part of our team, and do you want to build this program with us?
They're like, it seems like when they're like preparing for the
Mhm.
day, and like I'm on Baywatch.
Yeah. They're a fit group out there. But I think that the team morale is good. I think that they all have vision and understand the mission of the program. I think Joey is doing a fantastic job. He's got good leadership too. There is a vacancy for 1 head guard position right now. I think he's working on getting that filled probably internally, but if anyone out there is interested in being a leader on that team, there is a position open right now. And they're going to host regionals, which if you have not witnessed this, talk about Baywatch. It's their competitive sport for lifeguarding. So they do relay races, they do paddles, they do
It's gonna be
this flag event. Yeah. And it's so awesome. So South Padre and Galveston and maybe Corpus will be here, and they are so athletic, and it is like watching the Olympics of lifeguarding. It's super fun. And the last year they went to nationals, and they're planning to go to nationals again. So they're really, not only are they building their safety program here in Port Aransas, they're building their athletic program as well, and they're competitive. So that's a real motivator, and it's really fun to see these young professionals just
And also.
doing their absolute best.
Kind of doing that kind of stuff would also help retain and recruit.
I think so.
Better,
Yeah.
even better, like having
Yeah.
it be really competitive.
When I watch it, I'm like, I want to go do that. And then I remember that like I can't even run a mile. But yeah, yep. Maybe in a previous life. I don't know. All right. So, and they're just doing a good job with the team building that occurs when they have these regional events, when they go to nationals. They learn from other departments, they get to see best practices, and it's just a good thing. So I'm super proud of them. Yeah, the nationals, they're going to Huntington Beach, California, the first week in August, and they're taking 10 team members, and there were credentials. Those team members had to work a certain amount of hours. They couldn't have any disciplinary actions against them before the nationals. And then they had to, I think there was some competitive, credentials too. So they're taking the best of the best, hardest workers, as a reward almost to get to go to California and compete there. Well, we'll still have a solid team of folks on our beach, keeping everybody safe while they're doing that. One of the things we'll talk about in the budget, so I'll kind of skip over number 6, is they want to rebrand their hierarchy to mimic the other first responder branches in the city. So captain, lieutenant, chief. That way it kind of is understood the chain of command, and working with different departments, they kind of know who they're working with. A lot of times we'll hear like, oh yeah, that lifeguard. And it's like, well, was it Joey? Was it the chief? Was it, so it'll just be in line, and it goes well with their new facility that's going to be on 9th Street. So it'll be surf rescue, EMS, fire, all there in line of first responders, so. Their stats for the year are listed there, so those are the calls that they got in numbers. Major medical, that's the really scary stuff. That could be cardiac arrest or stroke or major lacerations or things like that. I can't believe that lost and found persons number. It has to be higher than that. They had a call earlier. It's all the time. But I was thinking maybe I should have department heads come to board meetings, like we could rotate through and so
Yeah.
Joey could come in and explain this stuff to you a little bit, but if you have any questions, I can get with Joey. And I mean, 231 swim assists, that's, you know, they got pulled out in a rip current or down longshore current and they go out and get them. And that's a lot.
What's rescues then?
What's that?
What's rescues? I would think that would be a
That
rescue.
is, yeah, that's like, they're really in trouble versus like, I was out on my floaty and I couldn't get in.
Yeah.
This is like, they are struggling to stay at the top of the water and in distress. All right. So the other new thing that's kind of interesting is occasionally in town on really high call days, EMS will have all of their ambulances out of town. Like if there's 3 or 4 calls at the same time, there's no one left in town to respond to a call. And so Surf Rescue has stepped in because they are now certified as EMTs. And so they can go and assess the situation and keep somebody stable until a paramedic can arrive. Yeah, so they've started to help there, which is a new thing that we have not done
People
before.
Already at station or people on standby? That who would answer that?
This number is from winter season, so we didn't have guards and towers. Joey I have to get with Joey on what they're doing. Right now, they're all in stands. There might be 1 or 2 people in the office, but it's like I had to run to the office to do something really quick and then they're back on the beach. So nobody's just like sitting in the office waiting. Yeah, it's during high season. They're probably coming off the beach in a vehicle. So the towers stay guarded, but the excuse me, the head guards are patrolling in vehicles. And so one of the head guards is who's EMT and could respond if needed. It's pretty rare, but it happened 6 times, so this winter. Yeah. Community programs. Christy's here. She's taking minutes, so I should make her do this. But we updated our fee schedule. So there was a lot kind of thoughts on like we were only charging $100 for a whole day of tournaments at the baseball fields. And so we updated those numbers and we added a fee for the concession stand if you use that. And we there's a whole list of just tweaks that we made. You can see our city fee schedule on the city website under the finance department. I should have printed it out for you, but it was a pretty extensive list of tweaks. We upped Marlin Academy and Camp Marlin a little bit.
There was something in the newspaper, South Jenny, maybe? It seemed like
Oh, is there?
Or I read something about the fee increases.
Well, if you want to see the details of them, they are on the city website, or I can email them to you. But council approved it. The memorial program, the trees that we had sponsored for the playground were extremely popular, and even after we had all of them spoken for, we had others approach us and say like, are you going to put in more trees? During drought restrictions, I kind of told folks it's not a great time to try and keep this stuff alive, but once we're out and able to irrigate, I'm open to planting more trees. But benches are becoming less available. We have a program right now where if you pay $1,000, you buy the bench and you get the plaque. But we only have so much real estate, so we're kind of mapping out.
The shade program.
Yeah, seriously, maybe lots of parks departments have wish lists. We've been lucky enough with our budget that we've never had to do that,
I'm
but
gonna look at that.
yeah.
Maybe I'll pay for a shade structure, not me personally.
Maybe you just add to the money that we have, help that stretch a little
Like, maybe
further.
even A plaque on a shade structure, I don't know, or a little, on, what do you call it?
Let's talk later. I like it. Sponsor the shade. We can't keep a tree alive, but we could build shade. Okay, I like it. I'm writing it down.
Anything you put a plaque on.
Mm-hmm.
There's never too much shade in the summertime.
Well, I was just at, where was I? San Antonio Botanical Gardens, and one of their main administrative buildings, when you walk in, is all limestone. And they have sponsoring families or individuals or corporations in metal black letters that are real like modern and
Mhm.
crisp looking, and they're different sizes depending on how big of a sponsor you are. So some family names are, you know, letters this big, and then there's smaller ones. But the whole wall is covered in names, and I was like, it looks really cool aesthetically. It's
Me
like
too.
art. But it's all of these contributors, and so I was thinking about the rec center, you know, somewhere where we could get, you know, friends of or a supporting group. Like I said, we've been lucky enough that we've never had to do that before. I've, you know, been doing grants and things like that, but I haven't ever tried to like solicit funds like this. Typically, it's been in a
Is it- you
memorial.
think It's online anywhere, like a picture of it? The botanical garden?
I could probably find it, probably. Yeah, it was good looking. Because the reason I was looking at that was because the mayor and I think council are interested in a maritime memorial for Roberts Point Park at the
Mhm.
ship point. And so we were talking about like, there's different maritime memorials in different coastal towns, and some of them have the bronze
Yeah.
plaques like on a railing. And so I was trying to think of something a little bit, like, it's kind of hard to Dremel out and put a plaque in and make it look really good and consistent in-house. So I was trying to think of like more aesthetically
Yeah.
pleasing ways to do it, and those letters on the wall I thought were really nice. I think they're probably mounted with like a couple of screws, and then that metal is like die cut or something, but it looked good. I don't know if it would rust away here. We'd have to maybe do it out of aluminum. Okay, let's keep rolling. I'm trying to make it to swim lessons. Summer programming is underway. Got the Crazy Cart Crawl coming up. Gulf Coast Federal Credit Union has been super generous and wants to help volunteer staff events, and they've been a great supporting community member. I think they're helping with 4th of July as well. We're planning for fall. Did you want to ask the Parks Board about a potential shift in traditional event, hayride, or you got the input you needed? Okay.
I mean, they're welcome to voice their opinions,
St-
but
Okay, well, it's on here. So we've always done the traditional haunted hayrides.
Where do you go on the holiday?
the route has changed over the last couple of years, but it's throughout all of Port A.
Yeah, they typically go past like Mercer Cemetery. There's a little bit, sometimes it was on the beach, maybe down to the nature preserve. It's kind of winds through town, and then it tells stories that different people throughout town have recorded. So Dan Parker's a voice on the recording, and I don't remember, Ken is on the recording,
All
and
kinds of people.
yeah, it's maybe Rick Pratt. I can't remember. There's a bunch of different voices that tell, you know, old stories from town about different morbid events.
Oh, there's some great.
But there's a non-scary earlier hayride, and then there's the scary later hayride. So that's always an incredibly popular event. But Christy was seeing some stuff about escape room style trail experience where you like go a little further, and then maybe you have to solve this puzzle, and then you get to the next point, and it's about an hour-long experience out in a trail. And so she was polling the public on, well, would you rather have the hayrides, or would you rather do this new escape room puzzle style excursion? So
To mix it up a little bit.
Why
Kim's
can't we
done
do
a
both?
wonderful job with the
we
hayride.
only have so much time and staff availability. You're sounding like her. I have to rein her in and be like, no, we cannot do an event every night of October.
That's fine. Or
Yeah,
we can't do both. But
thoughts, opinions? You probably like the
October
history
used to
side
be
of
our
things.
our quiet month, and now it's so busy. used to, I
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
wait till October.
Wooden
I
Boat
can't wait for
Festival,
all
Old
of that.
Town Festival, Harvest Moon Regatta. October
Boat
is
Festival
packed.
Usually are surf.
Yeah,
I've never done the hayride, so I don't have an opinion. But I hear good things about them.
They're wonderful. They are, Ken put these stories together. I mean, he does a wonderful job on the whole thing. The problem that I was kind of getting some feedback from is that it's not, it's the same.
Right, if you've done
And
it.
so
you've
we
done it.
wanted to try to mix it up and try something new. But I also know that it is kind of a tradition, you know, and people really enjoy them. So I don't want to take something away that is a staple to, you know, October here.
whoever
in Marin.
complained, you should go back to them and say, well, then you can tell the stories on this one.
Plain, just, you know,
Yeah, feedback,
yeah. You-
suggestions.
We need to, because we have tried over the last several years to get more community involvements in regards to like, send us your stories, you know, let us know what you know, so that the stories can change and make it a little bit different. Unfortunately, we haven't had a good response with that, so,
If you send me like just a synopsis of what each story is, you don't have to tell me the whole story, but just like what it's about. I can see if there's anything we can add to it or
Yeah.
change, cause there's some really great stories that circle around the Tarpon Inn. I'm sure that's one of the
yeah,
spots.
we have, I mean, and that's the thing is like, I guess years ago, before Harvey, they took a school bus around, a group of people, and they literally told stories from what they had experienced. And so they're very detailed and great stories. It's just like, we'd like to see a little bit more variety, you know, to change it up, because if you do the hayride every year, it's like, you know, the same stories. So if we're gonna stick to the hayrides, which I don't mind doing at all, we need to try to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We tried to do implement scarers along the route where they would come out and scare you, but they've done a wonderful job, but unfortunately, again, it just, the scare aspect isn't there, and there's a little bit of a safety concern when it comes to it. So we
They get really excited and then you're around traffic and it
Yeah.
just, this is not, does not make me comfortable.
So we're just trying to think of alternatives and different things. We still want to do something in lieu of, or in addition to the trunk or treat and the sand pumpkin patch that we do, we want to do one more thing. We just don't know quite what that's gonna be, so. If you have ideas, send them our way. I'm always open.
Well, this leads into if we had a stronger volunteer base, we might be able to do more, like host both events. And so Christy is trying to actively recruit a reliable team of volunteers. The Nature Preserve has a stellar group of volunteers. They're regular. In the summer, it's a little harder because it's outside and it's hot. But they have this like team of people who enjoy getting together and seeing each other at work events and things like that. And so we're trying to build that for Christy as well. Gulf Coast Federal Credit Union has been one to offer employees and kind of, I'm hoping, is the start of this bigger volunteer group. John comes out to our events all the time. So I have this vision of this like core group of folks that we can call on when we need 4th of July help or Christmas help or Halloween help. It's not in form yet, but we're heading in that direction. We've got the mission and the vision and it's going to get there. The community garden has seen a lot of good activity. Beds got cleaned out. We have a grounds crew member who's volunteering to help maintain the area. How many beds do we have adopted right now?
We have 12 beds and 11 adopted.
That's awesome.
So we have one available, but yeah, Seth's been coming. He's great. He comes every Wednesday and cleans up the garden and gets it all done. And then we've been people actively gardening and growing they're obligated to donate one vegetable or fruit to the Helping Hands Pantry. So we're working in collaboration with them, and then hopefully over the next fall, moving forward, I'm gonna try to work on doing some workshops and teach some gardening out there to get people more interested.
The last two pages are all of the summer lineup for activities in the beautiful format. Um,
Can we talk about Marlin
Yeah,
Academy?
we kind of skipped that.
oh, sorry,
It's
where
all
is it? How did I do that?
It's after.
Oh, yeah, youth programs. Oh my goodness, so sorry, Ken. So camp filled up immediately. I know that was a talking point we
Yeah.
wanted to bring up.
Like,
I actually looked, the first person on the waiting list registered at 9:30 a.m. or something like that. So camps filled up before 9:30 a.m. that day. So
for real.
yes, so it was suggested that we do an early bird registration and open it up
PASD
to
students.
PASD students only. It's tricky because there are transfer students, and
But they're
so,
enrolled in PISD.
but my software doesn't have a box to check for that. So when they put in their address, I can separate somebody who lives in Port A, doesn't live in Port A. The trick is that it's not tricky, but an individual who's coming to stay with their grandmother or their aunt for the summer is going to use their address. And so in the software, they'll get in and
Yeah.
you can fudge it too, right? You can put in whatever address you want in direct desk.
Open it to PISD.
So what I can do is I can go through and I can say only PAISD students can enroll at this date. And then if anyone fudges it, we have to go through and look, and we can do that. And so then a wait list would form and we would bump whoever didn't meet the criteria to the wait list and pull in the, PASD students who were on the
Yeah.
top of the wait list. So there's not a large amount of them, but there's between 1 and 5 each week that are not PISD students.
I
It's a
mean-
small number, but it did happen.
I mean, I saw 4 kids go in that I've never seen before in my life.
Hmm.
Might even be okay if someone worked here for the summer and they need to drop their kids
Well,
off.
that, I didn't want to get into the specifics of
But I-
who, but there
Yeah.
is an employee here who has
I think that's.
family
okay.
with them over the summer.
I think
I mean, I just think I just think that's the most easy, like PISD enrollment,
Yeah. There's nobody coming in from like Aransas Pass, Corpus, Rock, like there's no like neighboring communities who are like, oh, Port A has a great camp, send your kid there. Everybody who's in the camp has a tie to this community, whether they're staying with a family member or they're a school student here or a transfer student here. There's,
So if they have a Port Aransas address, they're accepted.
But they could.
Right now,
right now, anyone.
anyone can get in.
I know
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
The software does allow me to exclude non-residents in programming. So we would create the registration and say resident only. And so if your address was a Port Aransas address in your account in RecDesk, you would get in, and then I'd have to go through and verify these are all PISD students. And if they
But
weren't, I could bump
somebody
them.
might homeschool their kids.
That's the thing. And you have employees here who have family visiting for the summer, and that's like the 4 this week.
But I understand, like, you have an employee, like, have some family but we've got like we have an employee, she lives on Padre Island, but her kids have always gone to.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm fine. I mean, I
her kids have
understand
always been to
why.
School here, and it's like struggling to make it happen.
Yeah.
When she works here, her kids go to school here not fight, to compete with people that are just having family visiting them
Yeah.
for the summer.
Mhm.
I mean.
Well, and I also think about like childcare, right? A lot of people are using this as childcare, and on a need basis, like during COVID, we said you have to prove to us financially that you need your child to be here because we can only hold 25.
Yeah,
And so I think I want to make sure those people are served first over everyone else. And so we don't do that, but we could tier enrollment in, different
I just
ways.
think that being enrolled in PISD should give kind of first
Mhm.
dibs or homeschooled on the island. But if you're
Yeah.
homeschooling, I don't know, yeah.
You're still paying taxes.
I get that, I understand that, but like, you're usually not having to have
You
it.
don't have a job,
you know-
right?
you know,
That is-
I
they're
can't
not-
think of a homeschooler that came to summer camp before. Typically, they have a different like curriculum and intention or lifestyle, like they
Yeah.
want to travel or they have a different learning objectives, or it typically doesn't line up with a municipal summer camp, but it could. I mean, we're not excluding anybody by
right.
any means, but I haven't seen, maybe I can think of one maybe that came to camp and was homeschooled.
But because even like, 'cause you even provide that service like spring break and
Yeah, the
Yeah.
parents' night out and the day camps.
but yeah, I mean, like you have a camp during spring break because I mean, it's kind of, you know, like it's rough working on the island.
Yeah.
And not having school.
Mhm.
That being said, can we have camp open during those weeks that it's not open right now? Why is it
So
closed?
we need a time period to transition from after-school care to summer camp. We have to train up summer camp counselors. They have to get their food handling permit. They have to get their first aid and CPR certification. They have to learn how to be summer camp counselors. And so we
So
have
that
to
first
prep all of
week.
our supplies. So that's that first week.
Okay,
And then 4th of July is always difficult. Everything shuts down in town because there's so many visitors here. So historically, traditionally, we've shut down that week to just hide from the tourists, basically, without a nicer way to say it. I don't know.
but do people not work? I mean, I still have to work that week. You
I
still have
mean,
to work that
I
week.
mean, I guess it's just kind of like, I mean, I'm used to it in the sense of like. I mean, I agree with you, but I can't ask, like, the same thing happens with Trinity.
I know, it
Yeah.
sucks. I want them to be open too.
But I can't have. All these entities be all the things to me. This is just me personally. I can't like ask them, everybody's doing the most that they can.
Yeah, all right, I'll
themselves.
ask this, you ask. President
know, like-
first.
You know, like, just like me, Trinity needs a break.
But that's.
Yeah,
the
I mean-
stuff that I need to find childcare for, that it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the same
Like,
boat.
we're in the-
We're- All of us
we're all
are
in the
young
same boat.
kids.
I'll agree.
But again, like, everyone's, asked me, like, literally Trinity's one entity and they can only do.
Yeah,
much.
I know it.
They,
it-
there's
Something to be said for preventing staff burnout. So they're working 11-hour days through summer and definitely having a week off. The other thing is a lot of times we have younger staff that are still going on their family vacations and things like that. And so we lose staff members because of that.
They're in high school.
So then lower enrollment, only 30 people can join that week,
We could
something like that.
consider it.
I mean, I'm sure some of them might wanna work and get paid too, right? Maybe.
We'll have to see. Yeah, some of them are wanting every single hour and some of them just want a job on their resume. So there's a spectrum of enthusiasm. Yeah, but no, I value what you guys, I feel you.
It does get difficult to move around, and then it sounds like.
It's weird. I mean,
like
that
we
week
got
is, I can barely make it anywhere. I don't make a left turn.
Just trying to get
That's
us
for sure.
Alistair is.
Yeah,
sounds
we're gonna
really
call the
bad.
theme that week hunker down. We'll learn how to build shelters or something. Then the last week is the same thing. It's transitioning from summer camp to after school care, and we have college students going back to school and things like that. And so, I mean,
Except for
there's
2 weeks.
there's reason behind it.
Work.
No, I think they're good suggestions. Marlin Academy Birding Club, I already kind of talked about that. Youth Standards of Care, number 2, that is just something we have to do every year because we are not state regulated. We have an exemption being a municipality, so it's just a requirement that we have to accept the standards of care every year. And then we kind of discovered a few years ago that you can't just do it in one reading. It has to be by ordinance, which our city requires 3 readings for ordinance. So 3 months out of every year, we're talking to council about our youth standards. Camp is fully staffed. Oh, the theater thing was so cool. So Marlin Academy started a theater club and they put on a production of Willy Wonka. There's a lot of it on Facebook and video if you can go watch it. These kids worked so hard to create the whole set, all of the costumes. They learned their lines. They worked so hard, and I was like crying while watching it. They sounded so good. There's some amazing talent. There's some like real singers in there, and it was so fun to see these kids just take the stage and put on an entertaining production. They did one for the whole school, the whole whole elementary school, and then they did another one in the evening for the public, and it was great. And
Wow.
so kudos to the staff for making that happen, and the kids just blew it out of the park. They were awesome,
And you
lots of fun.
I mean, you didn't have to go to Marlin Academy to go there. Because Maggie's not in Marlin Academy, but she was in the play. You know that,
So yes, you can join the clubs of
Yeah.
Marlin Academy independently.
because there's an art one too, isn't there?
There is, yep. And there's
How do
birding
they do-
club,
There's a what?
birding,
Club?
art and theater. And they're talking about other things like maybe archery. Ken really wants to get that one going. Fishing club is a thing that's already been happening. What am I
There's
forgetting?
There's like, yeah, I
Mhm.
wanted to, yeah, I'll ask Ken about that.
Yeah, we try and do it in 8-week sessions, like the club runs for 8 weeks and then it changes up every semester, and they've kind of been like testing things out. I'm hoping it becomes more regular, like every fall is theater.
I think they do,
whatever.
they do have something planned for the theater this fall again, yeah.
Yeah, he does have another production,
Is it Charlie Brown?
Charlie Brown. Perfect for Ken. It's his favorite character. All right, let's keep rolling. Almost, there's a chance I'm gonna make some
Yeah.
lessons.
You're
You're
gonna
it.
do it.
Okay, so what you have in front of you, this was not in the council packet, but this is what I prepare for Darla and city council. City council has their budget goals workshop July 1st. And it's when every department goes and presents their wish list of what they'd like next year and justifies it. And then the numbers get crunched and you either get what you asked for or stuff has to be cut. The order of this, every department has their own capital outlay request, and there's some supporting documents attached to each section. And then every item in the request is supposed to be in priority order. So stuff at the top of the list is what the department is most in need of. So mine starts with the beach. Does yours? So this is Surf Rescue. They are asking, because they have additional staff, they are asking for additional UTVs. These are the Polarises that they drive out on the beach. Because the city has moved to leasing our fleet, Enterprise doesn't offer UTVs to be leased. So if council wanted to see a lease option for more vehicles, we could change to something like a Jeep or a smaller SUV type beach capable 4-wheel drive vehicle. If we wanted to move to the leasing model, all the vehicles that are on the beach get beat up pretty badly. The salt is super rough on them. And so leasing is appealing, being able to cycle things out after a few years. Enterprise auction, or doesn't auction them off, they buy them back and then that money gets applied to the future lease. And when we decommission a property that the city owns, we have to take photos of it. It has to go to auction. Oftentimes, like after the hurricane, stuff was sitting forever because it was so backlogged. And so this leasing program is very appealing in that they're handling a lot of it. So
Do we have a facility to wash those vehicles?
just the car washes in town, like Surf Rescue washes their vehicles down with a hose on the lot at the end of the day.
I was down at
Don't
Kent
tell the water district.
dropping off turtle eggs. And they have just a underbody
rinse.
spray that every truck or in every vehicle that comes back off the beach.
Is it a fixed location? Like they
Fixed.
drive through it?
Yeah, it's probably just as long as the vehicle. It's not 20 feet, but they drive over it
Does it go around the vehicle too, or just
Just
the
on-
undercarriage?
Just sprays on
Staff.
staff.
One that went all the way around
Yeah.
and underneath where they have, now it's golf carts, but the old car wash. on
Yeah.
the Jeep.
Yeah.
The undercarriage thing is interesting. They make an attachment that you can roll, you put the hose on it and then you roll it under the
Yeah.
truck, and we've looked at that before, but if you had just, it's like a sprinkler, basically, you leave it there and let the trucks drive over it. Yeah, sometimes there's been debate on whether wetting the vehicles at the end of the day is actually making the situation worse. Like if a truck doesn't get salt water on it all day and then you wet it, I've heard theories that it could actually
Yeah, it
be just
collects
as corrosive.
You just turn it into salt water.
Yeah.
So it has to be,
The best situation is you have it for 3 years and then Enterprise takes it back. Honestly, I mean,
yeah.
And undercoating, like.
we do that. Yeah, we do. Everything's undercoated, bed liners are sprayed, like we are trying to
Minimize.
be as preventative as possible. Yeah.
Still my pickup, I patrol the beach for turtles and every pulley on the engine's been changed and the compressor's been changed and everything's been changed from salt. It just,
Sometimes it depends on the vehicle too, cause I've
Yeah.
got my Dodge Ram I've had for 10 years and I go to the beach with it every morning. At least, and then sometimes back to surf or check to
Mhm.
surf. And it's still got all the original equipment.
That's
Original
great.
starter, original alternator. It's rusty in places,
yeah.
but and then I had Toyotas that didn't even last 8 years, that were brand new and fell apart. So,
And Volkswagens, they don't use recycled steel, so they don't rust as much. I read that.
and some vehicles, they use laminated metal instead of solid metal in some of the undercarriage work, and that's not good for you.
Well, we were excited about the Fords being aluminum and then realized that the lift gates on the Fords bend the beds because aluminum is not as strong. So they had to get specially equipped with these braces to handle the weight of the lift gate and the things that were being lifted. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah.
Seriously, though, the best situation is being able to give them back. Just don't
That's
make them
true.
yours. Just use them
And
and
does
just
that
lose
save
them.
money?
With all the time that went into the decommissioning process, it has to. Darla wouldn't switch to something if it wasn't fiscally responsible, so. Yeah. Okay, adding 2 more towers, so if we add 15 and 18, that will have a tower every 3 mile markers all the way down the bollarded section of the beach, which I think would be great to be able to say, if you want to swim by a lifeguard, you go inside the bollards and you'll have a lifeguard near you. So I think that's a great goal to work towards. More staff means they need more radios. Radios also succumb to the environment and need to be updated with technology as well. Police has continued to update their systems, and so I think we're just staying in line with them. Command vehicles. The idea is that they would have patrol vehicles on the beach, and then command vehicles could be incident response, and it would be okay for them to take a vehicle to the office if they needed to. It just frees up the leaders to be on and off the beach a little bit with vehicles. The surf rescue facility, I think that there's still hope that this is going to get started this fiscal year. The reason it got pushed is that the staging area for the EMS construction is the footprint of where surf rescue is going to be. And so they couldn't start surf rescue until EMS was further along. So I believe, the architecture is done on it and I think it's ready to be put out to bid. They just haven't done that because the EMS needed more time. So I'm hoping we'll see that in the next few months. Staffing, there's a lot here with staffing, but it's adding 10 more guards, but in the budget than what we did this year. My guess is they'll fill them. And then reassigning the existing staff with different titles. So the chief position is our surf rescue manager. That would just be the chief. The captain position would be a new position. So that would be like a second in command if the chief you know, doesn't want to work 60-hour weeks. They could work a 40-hour week and there would be a leadership role on multiple shifts. And then the head guards that we currently have would be rebranded as lieutenants. And then he's hoping for two of the beach lifeguards to be considered full-time. So they would keep their same pay, they would get benefits for being a full-time employee, and that would help their wintertime scheduling, being able to patrol in response vehicles all winter. There was some shortages with just having 5 on and trying to patrol all week, so this would fill that gap. So next section is Parks and Rec. This one I tried to keep very slim. David Lowndes requesting a mower. If he can decommission this last snapper mower, all of his fleet will be Skag mowers, and that's the preferred mower on our crew. And it's just kind of rusty and old and needs to be replaced. So I split half of it between RDC and the general fund, because that's what Darla typically does. They get used at the community park, and well, I guess this one's at Roberts Point Park, but they get kind of moved around a little bit. So splitting it in the budget, I think, is what she likes to do. The maintenance facility, I'm leaving it in there, knowing that it will probably be pushed to a future year, but I just want to keep council aware that it's a need that we have. And then I stuck the holiday decor in here. It actually comes out of a facility account, but this was an appropriate place. And this is the contracted decorations on all the roof lines and the lights down the telephone poles. And we'll have some additional decorations at Old Town Square Community Center. So there was some supporting documentation for that.
Are you thinking still about maybe doing a tree in that area? I know you do the tree forest and Roberts Point and stuff.
So we got a new tree at Roberts Point Park that is like a cage with a stackable frame, and it's 25 feet tall. I think it's pretty big. So the old tree that we used to put out at Community Center will probably go back out either under the pavilion or in the planter somewhere over there. We just didn't do it last year because the park was under construction. Okay, so now let's roll into RDC. This one has a little bit more. The rec center is there. I put in a kind of nebulous placeholder number depending on what council decides. It'll be between 18 and 24 million. Truck leases, this is to decommission 2 of the older city-owned vehicles on the grounds crew. I guess I put the park maintenance facility over here too. It would probably be split 50-50. I'm not sure. The mower there, the restrooms I left in there because the project's slated to be done the end of October. There will be a little bit of budget that we'll need to carry over to the next fiscal year to finish out that project. The toddler slide at the pool was actually budgeted for this year, but because the UV filters were so expensive and I'm trying to knock out shade, we're not going to get it this year. So it's in here. I wouldn't be surprised if it got cut, but it's small enough that maybe it won't get cut. That we used to have a little slide in the shallow end, kind of in the across the pool from the locker rooms. It was like maybe 4 or 5 stairs, little tube slide. So just putting that back. So there's a slide in the shallow end. Professional services at McDonald Field, TMC comes in and they grind the lip down on the outer edge and add conditioner and add soil. That field, the dirt blows and washes away. So we need to replenish it a little bit. So that's for that service. The grounds crew actually, after the big rainstorms, not the most recent ones, but the one before, the field was holding water. Well, they raked all the dirt kind of into the center, and this last rainstorm there was no standing water on it, so they did some rehab to it themselves and it worked pretty well. The school had requested that the baseball field be converted to artificial turf, so that's what that number is in there, and the locker room kind of the same thing. So I want to keep that in there so it's on council's radar. I don't see this funding being an option. I think other ideas are being explored that we might hear about at council. But I'm just leaving it in there because it's been requested.
And did they give a reason why? I think I heard somebody at school talk about that. but-
It's kind of this trend right now. It's most high school teams are playing on turf fields, and so it's something that they're accustomed to. You can play on it pretty quickly after a rain event. It doesn't have sticker burrs. I mean, it's preference. I think there's some folks out there who want to, play in real dirt on real grass, like the pros, and then there's other people who see turf facilities and how nice they are, and they want that. So
I mean, it's a pretty big price tag if you do the whole field. And-
Yeah, it is.
But so is that, I mean, is there any savings in maintenance? Cause it seems.
you don't
me
have to
that-
mow it, but you do have to clean it, and you have to there's a
And you have to
fluffer.
repair
I
it.
don't know what the technical.
It's only
term.
good for so many years.
It will wear out. Yeah.
One, yeah.
This is
So
how, and where's that senior here in Port Aransas? I don't know how long they've had it up at the school, the
At the
track.
track, they did that after Harvey. Pretty quickly after Harvey. I bet it's probably 5 years
did
old.
they pave it first before they put the?
I don't think so.
I mean,
Is it cement under there?
Yeah.
The whole
Put it-
field.
Yeah,
Wow.
you have to pave it.
So at
Seems like
the
we-
ball field, the contractor that came out for that talked about the drainage system that it needs underneath it. So you have to dig down and create a whole underground drainage and gravel compaction system. So it's not just rolling out turf. There's a
Yeah.
underground system, and it's
There.
really low lying out there. I have concerns about hurricane resiliency. The schools requested it, so it's on the list. They're the ones using it the most. It's their team, it's their facility. I do use it for tournaments, and it's the community's field, but
But they
the,
can't pay for it because it's still on their property, right?
yeah. Yeah. So they had bond money to do the softball field, and then we would have to do the baseball field. But I think people are trying to come up with
And then-
other solutions. More details to come. I don't know. I can't report on that yet. The last section was grants. I went over all that stuff with you already. The restore grant, maybe match for the local parks grant. If you guys have ideas on that, I'm trying to piece together how the aquatics amenities at the pool can be tied into a project narrative with the fishing piers. And it's hard to do. That's the
Yeah.
grant thing is
Yeah.
not cakewalk. I put it in Chat GPT, it's in jail for me. There's a little info on there. They're like, you do not have a project here, sorry. The other thing is I just could just be patient. There's some supporting documents in here. The shade pergolas that I'm getting specced for the pool don't have these little walls on them. They're more just the white frame with the louvers across the top. So this is similar but not exact. Okay, last section. I don't know why it doesn't say nature preserve at the top, but it should. They found this tiny little, oh man, we're getting so close to time. This tiny little golf cart that will help them with trail maintenance. Right now, the golf cart takes up the whole trail. And so if you're out there with a bicycle or a family, we basically have to wait until all the traffic is through and then try and sneak through with a cart to get equipment like out to Salt Island and things like that. So this golf cart is very small. It actually, I think, can fold up. And so it will be safer trying to maintain trails while people are using the trails. Invasive species treatment, Ray is working on how much we need to ask for there. We just put that in there because it needs to be done. There's some guinea grass that's very aggressive in the coastal prairie habitat, and we don't want it to take over the whole thing. White lead tree and pepper trees also. Paradise Pond driveway, that is actually budgeted this year, so I'm pushing for that to get done. I'm hoping that it can be added as a change order to our street and drainage project, but I'm waiting on if that's possible. Just want to repave the parking lot and driveway. There's discussions from the Nature Preserve Board on a potential fence or other reconfiguration out there, but this is just paving. The Nature Preserve met on this stuff yesterday, so I don't want to get into too much detail. Bump outs would help in the long stretches of boardwalk where you can kind of step to the side if you're passing a group, or if you want a bird and set up a tripod, you'd be off the trail a little bit. So we've talked about bump outs for a while now on those boardwalks. And
Makes sense.
then at the wetlands behind the family center, they're actually helping a lot in sending staff to go pick up bags that blow into those wetlands. They have I've watched the staff in their Lowe's shirts out in the tall grass trying to get bags back. So they're doing a good job with trying to clean up litter, but I think a fence or something, maybe more vegetation, something to catch the bags before they blow out of the parking lot would be better than having to trape through the wetlands to get them. I've also had some ideas with Keep Port Aransas Beautiful that maybe we could help them transition to not plastic bags. I don't know how much that costs. I haven't talked with the management at all, but I'm brainstorming about
Well,
it.
they did it once before, till Laredo ran it for the whole state.
Yeah, well, that's why I was thinking if we could encourage a voluntary measure and maybe even help subsidize the costs with some nonprofits, maybe we could help them out. I don't know. I gotta approach them and figure it out, but it's on my to-do list. The grants I've already covered. There's a picture of the little micro golf cart. Cricket. And the contractors that built the boardwalk had one of these, and so that's where they got this idea. They were like, "Oh, where did you get that?" Yeah, and so the rest is just supporting info on the nature preserve items. I don't want to get into all the details because Ray shared all that. The Paradise Pond paving imagery is in there. Second to last thing. And then the bump outs, there's also a map there of the long stretch of boardwalk that needs some bump outs. So that is what I have. If you guys have anything that you want to see in the budget, now's a great time to let me know. This stuff is due on Monday, so I have a little bit of time to work something up and get it to,
I'd still like to see some traffic slowdown devices in the, that whole area around the pool. I see people zooming through there all the time, going backwards, going the wrong way, coming
well, the
around.
whole thing is gonna get reconfigured with the rec center, so
But I strongly urge either
speed
speed
limit.
bumps or something, because there's kids, dogs, and
Yeah.
little kids and little dogs moving around, and I see people just zooming through there, sometimes as much as 50 miles an hour. I know
Yeah.
if there were speed
That's
bumps,
crazy.
they wouldn't go that fast. It's just last night, it was only maybe 30, 35 miles an hour, but just come around the corner and just,
That's still too fast in that confined area.
Yeah,
It
you
is.
should, if
That's
you can get a license plate and call dispatch, I mean, that's
Yeah.
definitely a safety hazard if you witness that. But we are putting up speed limit signs and no through traffic signs at the cemetery. We're repaving the driveway through the cemetery. And there's been a lot of cars that will cut through there and they're not visiting the cemetery. So with the new road, we're gonna add those to try and cut down on that same, situation. So we could do the same at Community Park. Yeah. Anything else?
How about? I went to the World War II thing, the mounts up there.
Not my property.
It's
That's-
part of it's owned by Port Aransas, part by UT and part by the county, isn't it? That's
Not city, it's UT and county.
and I'm not sure how much the county has and how much the UT has, but I know that UT, when they added the new facilities for students, new residences, you know, they went right up to it almost. In fact, I think they uncovered some of the bases of pilings for the lookout tower that was behind it. Cause they
Oh,
found a
cool.
very long piling in one of the dunes that they had scooped out. So I'm hoping that UT owns the property that they're on, because right now the county is considering selling all that dune
Right,
property.
that's-
And that's a scary thought. I don't know what can be done to prevent.
They have public meetings, so the reason I knew I had heard about that is because their agenda was published in the Island Moon. And I don't know how the meeting went or if it even happened yet, but they are public meetings, so you could go and voice your concerns.
Yeah, cause I know that originally they had some ideas about doing some pathways from
Yeah,
their RV park to the backside of the.
I know,
The
so Scott
government-
Cross is the Nueces County Parks Director, Coastal Parks Director, and he is working, he has some grant funding on a boardwalk system and a pond enhancement, and he offices out of the IB McGee Beach Building. So he would be able to give you more information on that project. But he's a good guy that you could approach with ideas too.
Oasis County Parks. and-
Coastal Parks, that colorful building on the beach.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in there
oh, he's in there.
by the campground.
They're also
The
doing
one that took
veteran,
30 years to build. Yeah, okay. I was just wondering if the city could put some, suggestions or something in and ask about protecting that area and developing it. But if it doesn't belong to, I mean, I
it's,
can go talk to
I
them.
mean, it's they're historic sites, you know, federal
Right.
historic sites. So I think there are some limitations no matter who owns it. They can't destroy them. But how much how close the county goes to it is being interesting. I was trying to look at those pictures in the South Jetty last time, trying to figure out exactly what's county, what's UT, and it'd be great to see a layout. Maybe the city probably has.
I use the Nueces County appraisal district's map all the time. I don't know if you can pull that up, but if you
Yep.
do the property search in the interactive map, it's not exact lines. So if you're looking within a few feet, it's probably not accurate, but I use it. That's a helpful tool.
Yeah. It is good.
Okay, thank you.
You gotta go.
I'm hoping to get some lessons, but I do want to hit the next item about scheduling our meetings maybe a whole year out, so we don't have to play whack-a-mole when it comes to availability and
Okay.
getting everyone here.
And I apologize for being so late, but when we moved the meeting, I forgot to add the.
I know everybody's, time's wasting, but we do need one thing. We need to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, yep.
Possible.
They're in here.
So yeah, they are at the back of the packet. The agenda packet that we've been going through. And these are the minutes for November. 2024. So I need someone to make a motion, please, and a second.
Make a motion to approve minutes from last meeting.
With Grace, we made a motion.
I'll second.
Cliff second. Thank you. Yeah, I pulled up the calendar, at least to the next meeting. Do you want to do? If we. Do every 3 months,
That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to meet
And-
quarterly. Yep.
what day of the week, if we determine a day a week, a day within the same week each month? Is that possible?
You had some day preferences, right?
I like the middle of the week, Wednesdays or Thursdays. I do have a new job that's somewhat unpredictable. Because but not as we get into the winter months, but while the fishing season exists. If we get 4 days of smooth weather, I
Yeah,
will be gone. Yeah, that's.
That's fine. Wednesday, Thursday works for me. Right?
Thursday,
Thursday,
Yeah.
About you, do you have a preference?
well, the third Thursday is city council meeting. And so the only other factor would be the availability of this room. So airport board met today right before this meeting. I like bumping it earlier so that I can pick up the kids from school. So the 2 o'clock hour is nice for me. Does that work for everyone?
Works for me,
Yeah,
So
as long as I know when they are, so I don't schedule, you know.
if you do earlier in the month, it gives me time to get something on a city council agenda. So like the first or second Wednesday of the month could be beneficial.
I'd rather do the second. Seems like I get a lot of meetings that first
of
week of the month.
something.
Yeah,
So should we try
Second
September
Wednesday of-
10th?
so it'd be on the September 10th.
At 2.
December the 10th.
Mhm.
That's kind of good because it's not too close to the holidays.
Yep.
And then March the 11th of 2026.
Well,
Might be.
don't have anything on my calendar yet.
But I mean, that's kind of spring breakish. Right up, it goes right up next to it.
Okay,
Let's see. it was
So
the
September
weekend of
10th, and then
16th.
what was the second one, John?
St. Pat-
December 10.
December 10th?
mhm.
How funny that it's all the 10th.
And then.
Oh, no, it'd be March 11th.
Yeah, if we did it in March, it'd be on the March the 10th. I don't know if that's spring break.
It is, yeah, that's tough.
It is.
Can we do it the next one, the 18th or the 4th? March
The
4th?
4th is fine with me. They usually.
March
Mm,
4th.
Okay.
And then go back
June
for
10th.
June to the second Wednesday, which would be the 10th again.
How
Wow.
interesting.
And was there a meeting between September, March,
December.
December 10th.
December?
Remind them about their application.
Oh. So council's not reappointing board members until July, but I believe
I turned my paperwork in.
you turned yours in.
I
Was
just-
Cliff, who was due?
Me,
Oh, okay. I mixed you up. Did you get yours? You got yours in first. You were
Yeah.
early. So I think we're okay.
Yeah, I was reapplied.
Okay, everyone did their homework. Thank you. I didn't want new members. I like you.
All right, last chance, anybody, any additional comments, concerns?
couple comments. First, my grandchildren love the park,
Yeah,
all 9 of them.
Awesome.
And I had to go in for some radiation treatments, and the radiologist, we were talking, and she said she went there, she in Rockport, she's from Rockport. She took her kids there and spent 5 hours. And first time she ever put a recommendation online.
Oh, I haven't even tried to look at reviews. I did notice on social media, typically it doesn't take very long for the comments to turn negative.
Yeah.
And every like video or post that I've seen, for the most part, there was like one that I found like a few weeks later that was negative, but almost all of them, I'd say like 95% have been positive. So that is just great. I love that we got to do that for our community, and I'm super happy. I'm sorry that it's getting so hot.
It gets hot. No
But-
matter what park you put there, it'll be hot. It was
Yeah.
hot when it was pirate.
Yeah.
And now that I'm running a boat down in the harbor, I go by it every day and there's always,
I know,
People-
I
I've
kind of
not
wish
seen
we
that
had a
zip line
way
empty
to
yet.
count how many visitors, like sometimes on trails you can put a counter so you know who walks past, but there's no way to do it in that form, but
since it's been into the attendance at the Friday.
Sunset Sound
That sounds, yeah.
back.
Yeah,
It
Sure.
dipped for a little while.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
and is that this Friday?
It's tomorrow, yeah, or yeah, Friday, not tomorrow, the after.
Friday.
Real good musician, David, Selbo, I think is his last name, I was listening all day yesterday. Did you hear me? Good
I
music.
did hear you listening to music. I didn't.
Free popcorn and lemonade.
All
Woo-hoo.
right.
I mean,
All right, motion to adjourn.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll say.
All approved.
Who second?
Do you need a second on adjournment?
I second.
Yes.
Okay, Amanda, second.
You guys are rocking it.
Hey.
All right.
Okay, I appreciate you all. Thank you seriously for your time. And if you think of anything that you want to